Hello Internet, 60x Self won't shut up about Persona 5. So let's go. The squad is looking for Futaba's palace, and they found it. And it's a tomb, an Egyptian-inspired pyramid to be precise. And there's a really cool thing that happens with Futaba's palace that's indicative of her mental state. So initially the squad is not viewed as a threat by Futaba. After all, she asked for her heart to be stolen. However, Futaba's natural inclination to drive people away causes her shadow to keep us away, even though it doesn't seem to actively view us as a threat. In other words, the traps going off all throughout her tomb, which also goes along nicely with the whole Egyptian theme, are a metaverse representation of Futaba's insecurities, her social defense mechanisms literally brought to life, putting up actual physical walls, keeping the squad or anyone else from getting too close to her heart, figuratively and literally. It's a really interesting way to show a mind working against the actual person. It's definitely the most interesting palace so far. And the ultimate barrier the squad runs into requires that they convince Futaba to allow us into her room, which is her sanctuary and her self-described tomb in the real world. And while trying to get in, the word cognition is briefly mentioned, and it's revealed Futaba already knows about the whole cognitive world. Her mother Wakaba was working on cognitive science. That's PSI, not SCI, science. And she was very close to publishing a paper on the cognitive world. Also, the Metaverse app has appeared on Futaba's phone, unbeknownst to the squad. Now, with the door to her safest space, her heart and her treasure open, the squad rush back to her tomb, where a monstrous version of her mother has taken hold. A quick aside, in past Persona games, there comes a point where the navigator, the person who is leading us through the shadow world and cataloging all of the shadow weaknesses, can no longer serve their dual role of navigator and combatant. They're just not strong enough as a navigator. And it's at that point in past games where a new party member steps up, and their only role is as navigator, thus they're better suited to the task. It happened in 3 when Fuka took over, and it happened in 4 when Rise took over. So it's a dang good thing that Futaba snuck into the metaverse. Futaba has entered the ring. Who called it? Yeah. And her first battle with us is the fight against her cognition of her monster mother. Yikes. We learned that this cognition is born of a suicide note read to her by some men in black suits who claim it was written by Wakaba. In this note, Wakaba allegedly writes about Futaba and details every reason why she is nothing but trouble in her mother's life, and then jumps in front of a car. But there's no way. This is definitely a note fabricated by someone else. And then that phrase, rotten adults, comes up again. Futaba talking about the men in black suits. And these are truly rotten adults, these men in black suits. These men who read a false suicide note blaming Futaba for Wakaba's death. Futaba realizes this truth, accepts her shadow, gains her persona, which is a flippin' UFO that she sits inside of. And it allows her to hack the metaverse and gain all kinds of data that she can feed to the squad. And she's in like a Tron-looking suit. It does come with some bug-eyed red goggles that make it very hard to take her serious, particularly during the heartfelt farewell to her mother. But the squad has beaten the monster cognition of Wakaba, and we now have another awesome persona, right there with Makoto's motorcycle persona. And after a harrowing escape from a crumbling palace, the squad makes it. However, with no explanation as to why these rotten adults did such an awful thing to a child. But perhaps that's something that'll be explained once we learn who Black Mask is. And I'm also still assuming that the mysterious voice talking to the SIU director is Black Mask. No, not that Black Mask. Though how cool would that be? Whew, so much story, another palace down, and this game is dense. It's not just the story, there's a lot of mechanics. 47 hours in, and I'm still getting tooltips for new mechanics I haven't encountered yet. Oh, I started Chihaya's story. Well, sort of. I had accrued enough money, 100,000 yen, which I was honestly hoping was just a gate, and then I would present the 100,000 yen and she would change her mind and I would get it to keep it, because that's a lot of money. Nah, it's not how it went. So Yoshi and Morgana went home with the Holy Stone, filled with good fortune that could change fate. It's shattered. It was just a lump of salt. It does give us the fun line where Yoshi says that he's feeling salty when Sojiro asks what's wrong. So anyway, we are going to go back and talk to Chihaya about this because this is no good. So we go back another night and Chihaya is scamming someone else. This time a woman with an abusive boyfriend. A woman who already bought a Holy Stone in the hopes of it fixing her abusive boyfriend. She's convinced if she just buys a second one from Chihaya, it'll fix him. Chihaya is a little bit hesitant about selling it to her and really suggests that she breaks up with her boyfriend, but she's definitely willing to sell it. So Yoshi and Morgana step in, and they convince this woman that they can change her boyfriend's heart, just need his name. Which seems like a really bold thing to do for phantom thieves that are supposed to be secretive. But we are going to find him in Mementos and do what Chihaya can't. And hopefully then we'll get to establish what I'm guessing is the Fortune Confidant social link. After spending some more time with Kawakami, Yoshi learns that she is definitely being extorted. It seems there was a student at a school that she worked before. He was having some trouble, also an orphan. Kawakami was offering some one-on-one tutoring to try to help him because she saw something in him. The school found out and told her, no, you can't give that much time to one individual student. It's not worth it. Stop it right now or you're fired. What's she going to do? Her boss said no. So she informs the student she can't do it, and he tragically dies very shortly after. Kawakami blames herself for letting him down, and the student's extended family, remember, orphan, is quite happy to blame her as well and accept as much money as they can in some form of restitution. As far as I can tell, though, she is definitely not the one at fault. The school told her to stop or she would lose her job. But now this explains why she is working this maid job and catching fish for money and just doing anything she can to make money aside from her normal teaching career. Oh, holy crow. I cannot believe I haven't talked about this one. Her name is Tai Takemi, and she is a goth doctor who is very happy about calling me her guinea pig test subject and inflicting all kinds of clinical trials on me. She's kind of one of my favorites. And she's another character that was screwed by a person in authority over her. So Takemi was working on a cure for a deadly disease while at a prestigious university. Nearing the end of the testing phase, another faculty member, Oyamada, attaches himself to these clinical trials in an attempt to gain some of the fame. And he pushes for faster results, which Takemi advises against. Sadly, this ends with a dead patient, which Oyamada immediately flips on Takemi and blames her. Takemi is driven from the university and given the nickname The Plague, which is actually a pretty sick name for a goth, not so much a doctor. For whatever reason, Tai Takemi accepts this and also blames herself. What exactly she blames herself for, I don't really understand. I guess it's for not standing up to her superior, but she did. And she was in a position where she was basically powerless to stop anything. Yeah, there's a running theme in this game of powerlessness in the face of corrupt superiors, whether it's those rotten adults or just someone higher on the social ladder for whatever reason. Obviously, the beginning of this whole thing starts with Yoshi's run-in with a politician, but also each of the Confidants' stories. Ryuji with Kamoshida, kicked from the track team and blamed for their dissolution. An with this woman screwing her out of modeling gigs. Kawakami with the school board. Takemi with the university staff. Mishima with his bullies from school. And Makoto's friend Eiko seems to be headed this way. She's got a new adult boyfriend. And Futaba with the men in the black suits and the forged suicide note. The central theme that I initially called kids versus rotten adults has expanded, matured, into the powerless versus the corrupt powerful. I still don't like the core group, and I have problems with the way the new members are introduced. I've gone on long enough this week. I'll talk about this more in a shorter episode sometime, but I am starting to put together the words to explain my problems with the main group. In short, the protagonist in Persona 5 doesn't have the same level of connection as past protagonists. He doesn't seem to bring together the team in the same way, despite Morgana's constant claim that he's attracting all these people. It doesn't actually seem to be true. And it doesn't help explicitly stating a thing that doesn't seem like it's actually happening. But that's where we are so far in Persona 5. If you're enjoying listening to me talk, go ahead and like this. If you want to subscribe, click there. If you want to see the rest of the Persona 5 progress updates, click there. If you want to see another one of my videos, click there. And to see who I decided to have you subscribe to today, click there. I hope everyone is having a great life, a good time, and I'll see you next week. Bye, Internet. You're going to sit there and watch me? That's not awkward.